Today I was thinking about what to I need something to talk about, and then I decided to focus today a little bit on my writing. This is the first very long novel I wrote, Saturnastra Marduke. Oh, the novel took about 2 years, about a year and a half to write, as most books are. And I wrote it during my first year in college. But the main thing that took time was, developing the world, picking the characters, the families, defining the world rules, world building and so forth. Of all of the planets I chose for my little fantasy I went with Saturn. Saturn has a lot of beautiful moons, and I imagined that the ring, when seen from Saturn outward, would look very nice at night. So I picked Saturn for aesthetic reasons. As you can see, the book is rather bulky. It is almost as long as your typical Harry Potter book. See, this is a second edition of the book, but the first edition can also be bought because people also like that version, but the new version has more refinements and so forth. See all of the numerical pages, etc., etc. And it's also optimized for the Kindle, so you can find this stuff easier. The other thing I wanted to show you was that I originally wanted to make the book with illustrated chapter images, but putting the chapter images in color or just putting a chapter image in general rose the value of the book way too much. So then I had to go full with a couple in black and white, and then in the future I didn't bother with chapter images for budget purposes and so forth. This is some of the little chapter images that I had designed for the original book, but I was never able to use. Here's the main character, Marduke. And then in the palace, there were these nice little dragon statues that I described, and then I did my best to try to render what I imagined on paper. But usually you imagine things great in your head, but then you lack the skills to translate your mind and your imagination into the physical world. But you can see what I was going for. Alright, let's show you another planet. Oh wait, this one is actually from the second part of the book. There's that little Marduke sitting on a throne that's too big for him. See, I like dragons. I have a lot of dragons in the book. And this was just an ornamental fake dragon for the throne. See, I drew all of the little nice scales and so forth. And then him as a child with one of his childhood friends, talking in the garden and so forth. I like a lot of the nice Victorian fashion dresses. I take always a little bit of time in order to help folks imagine how the characters are dressed. Because it just adds to the details of it and the clothing. Here's him having tea with one of his weird sisters and her two friendly demons. In another book, I eventually explain more these two characters. One of them is a primordial demon that is something that you're already familiar with in planet Earth, and this one is a native demon to the planet of Saturn. Just because it's a different planet doesn't mean that they don't have similar Earth-like problems. Has more little childhood scenes and so forth. Don't forget that these were like chapter images and so forth. And in a way, it's a bit of a coming of age story because I like to age up my characters. I am not afraid of working with characters that start as little kids and then they develop and then they evolve into more varied type of individuals. Here's him in the forest pretending to be asleep when he gets visited upon by a creepy vampire lady. Here's him talking with one of his brothers who was friends with said vampire lady. See, they both have the same little room patterns in their outfits. And then here's another one of those chapter images where they're still talking and so forth. And that's about it as far as chapter images related to Marduke. It was around this time where I realized the whole budget situation. But you can see that I worked very, very hard on the chapter images, which I was unfortunately able to use. But the book itself really doesn't need it. I mean, in the end, this is a novel, and the most important, it doesn't matter how nicely you decorate your novel if the book doesn't function. And this book, because of all of the hard work and effort I put into it, works just fine, doesn't need any embellishment. If you're looking for a good, fun of a read, give my little book a chance. Oh yeah, before I forget, here's about the title. This weird little alien language is actually derived from the Wordish manuscript. Remember that famous gibberish book? I looked at the book and then I picked certain characters to represent certain words. So then here you are, Marduke and Saturnastra, reading with using the Wordish text. I hope you find this information amusing. Bye bye and God bless.